Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for being here. Welcome back. I am here, got my headphones on to listen to that music at the beginning along with you, which is always fun. So cool. Looks like everything is working. It's only a little bit distracting hearing yourself on that slight 3-frame delay. What do you think of the little thing at the top over the map? I literally made that right now as the timer was running. I was like, oh, you know what I want? I want a little title bar at the top that says live. So it's got some sort of branding on it. And then Photoshop crashed when I tried to export it to the Blackmagic media pool because there's a bug in the Photoshop plugin where if the IP address of the ATEM changes, it crashes Photoshop. So I had to recreate the whole thing from scratch and do it all over again. But it's all good. It is working now. And yeah, cool. Good to see everybody here. Let me go ahead and pull up the chat so we can see what's going on. And I had to do my chat and the map the other way today, so give me a second here. Cool. Is my chat button gonna work? That's always the question. Show chat. Nope, it's in the wrong input. Okay. I will explain what's going on here in a minute, but a lot of things are different, of course, as always. Oh, Tom, good to see you here. Good morning. Hoping to print the rest of the ATEM stand this week. Excellent. I hope you can as well. And thanks for joining. All right. Let me scroll back up. Oh, I saw Keith sent a super chat to start things off before we even got going. Thank you, Keith. And sorry to miss you live, but thanks for catching up later. Looks like there was a question about the stand before I joined the chat. So that is definitely going to be an update that I'm talking about today. In fact, you can see my printer going in the back. Okay, what else broken? So make sure you mention mine. It is in the latest version of Companion, like the... Okay, what's the... What, is there something wrong with the stream? People are talking about... Buffering? Lagging? Frozen? Lagging? Uh-oh. Video stop, chat continues? What's going on? Everything looks fine over here. Everyone's dropping off. Stream. Literally everything is fine. YouTube has not given me any warnings in my console. Nothing is wrong. It says everything is fine. Yeah, there's literally no problems. I think YouTube, I think this is on YouTube's end. Let me show you what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. Stream is healthy. Everything is fine. Everybody is on, except it looks like a whole bunch of people dropped off. So I'm guessing YouTube crashed and restart your browser or reload the page and it should be fine. Super weird. I'm going to say that was not my fault. Not my fault. I've been pushing fine. I haven't seen any buffering. ATEM is happy. YouTube is catching back up. Okay, we got people back on. Weird. Okay. Yeah, you know, YouTube has been acting pretty weird for a lot of people the last couple weeks. And that is, I think we just experienced that firsthand. So, oh yeah, and if you are, well now, if you're listening to me saying this, you're not live. If you are, sometimes you have to click the little button that says live down in the corner. It should be like down here. And if it's gray, it means you're watching time delayed, like you're watching previous stuff. And if you click it, it'll turn red and skip you to live. Okay. All good now. Refresh twice, back to normal. May have been okay on USA and had to reload the page. We crashed YouTube. Yep, we did. Reloading fixed it. Yep, okay, not my fault. YouTube blacked out for 2 to 3 minutes. Refresh did not make a difference. Great. Well, we'll see if they have the data from... we'll see about the replay. We'll see if the replay was continuous or if that also skipped. That'll be interesting. I'm guessing the replay is going to contain the full thing, so Sorry to everybody who's watching the replay where this makes no sense to you, because the replay was fine the whole time. Okay, missed the whole discussion about Companion. Okay, I'll go back and talk about that. YouTube threw an error out for everybody. Could rewind to the beginning, catch up on 2-speed. Missed the discussion on Companion for the Extreme. Same issue in Asia. Okay. So let me go back to Companion for the Extreme. What I was saying was the Companion software, the update for Extreme is in the latest version of the code. It is in the nightly builds if you go download their betas. It is not yet in the releases, but it probably will come very soon. And but also it doesn't actually matter, because if you just tell it it's a generic ATEM, it does most things anyway. So that's how I'm using it with mine right now. It gives you a little warning. It's like some features may not be available, but most of the things work anyway. So you can just start using it right now. Yeah, okay, no, it wasn't me. I was online the whole time. Go back and watch the replay, and it should show you that I was there the whole time, just talking to myself, apparently. All right. Yep. Choose live in the bottom of the screen, otherwise you're going to be behind in the chat. Great. Must have missed all the fun. Yeah. Oh no, not again. Oh no. This is not going to go well if YouTube is just freaking out on us today. Oh yeah, check out this graph. Everyone dropped off, and now they're coming back. So I think we're back to normal. Okay. Whew. So let's see. Oh hey, Peter, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And yeah, happy to chat about this stuff all the time. Looks like, yeah, I did not set up my little confetti overlay today because I have been redoing my studio. Surprise, surprise. I feel like I've been saying that every week. But hey, you know what? Yeah. Okay. Recording at the beginning has issues as well. Whew. Interesting. And I am not recording my own shows. I do not record my own shows locally because I just push up to YouTube and whatever happens, happens. All right, getting some good questions in here. Let me take a few more questions and then I will give you an update about the stands because I know people are curious about that. Yeah, most of the regular stuff, including transitioning to from SuperSource, already works. Yeah, that's with Companion, like the ATEM Extreme didn't actually add new concepts, right? It's all concepts that exist in all the other ATEMs. So SuperSource already exists. Upstream, downstream key has existed forever. Even the streaming now, the streaming and recording, because those are in the ATEM Mini Pro, those already exist. So the ATEM Extreme is just like a collection of the existing tools and existing building blocks. So that's why Companion can mostly work with it, because it's not like it has to speak new things for the Extreme. I don't actually think there's anything the Extreme has that is only on the Extreme. Whereas like the ISO, the ATEM Mini ISO, that was the only one that had a recorder, ISO recorder, 4-track recorder built into it. I think everything else on here exists in other products. Yeah, the problem with the Companion is it's not using the official SDK, which is also, which means they have to basically reverse engineer the protocol, I guess. But hey, it works, it's fine. Okay, oh hey, got the stand in the EU last Friday. Great stuff. Might add some conical adjustments for the tricky top bar nuts. They are a little bit tricky, sorry. Otherwise, great quality and good customer experience from their team. Excellent. Yeah, the EU sellers of the stand, I have been very impressed with. I actually had no idea, but they actually created a little instruction booklet. That was them doing that. That wasn't me. They made a little instruction booklet and put it in a nice box, made a nice label for it. And that is super, super cool. I was super happy to see that. So, and I have been loving seeing all your shots come in. So post photos, tag me on Instagram, tag me on Twitter. And I would love to see the boxes you get when you're getting them, and then your setups that you have with them. Okay, so redo your studio and sweeping. The confetti was all over the place from last time, and I had to clean it up. No. Okay. let me see where. I saw a couple questions I want to get to. Oh yeah, every church in the world is streaming today. That is a good point. That is a good point. YouTube is probably under some serious heavy loads today. Can you talk about layers in the ATEM Mini Extreme? How many chroma keys on screen at once? Yeah, so I think we actually did a demo of this 2 weeks ago, I want to say. It's kind of amazing how many things you get on the Extreme. And I can't show you the multi-view today because of how I'm setting it up. I'm actually streaming from the Extreme today, whereas 2 weeks ago I was streaming from the ISO, which meant I could stream the multi-view. But I can layer a bunch of stuff and show you. So this is the web or the app control for the Extreme. And you can see there's 4 upstream keyers here. And then there's 2 downstream keyers. Plus there's SuperSource, which is what I'm using to make this layout that you're seeing me in right now. So every one of those things can be on at the same time. So you basically have 6 layers on top of a base. And then your SuperSource can be the base layer. And the SuperSource can also have up to 4 boxes in it. So I'm using 2 of the boxes. I'm using box 1 for the camera. And that you can see if I scoot it over, right? So I'm using box 1 for the camera. Box 2 is the computer, which I can again scoot over if I want to. And then I'm not using box 3 and 4. I could, what's this gonna look like if I do this? Box 3, let's scale it down to 0.2, make it small, and then we'll bring it down here. This is actually the output from the web presenter, which I'll talk about in a minute as well. And then you can do a 4th one as well, which is going to be that. And let's shrink it down and then move it over and up. So, okay, that's my SuperSource, right? I've got these four boxes, and you can see downstream key 2 is on there. That's what I'm using for chat. So if I go over here and show a chat message, you'll see that that's on downstream key 2. So that's another layer. And I meant to clear that out. So I can also put something on downstream key 1, which I think I've got the countdown on here right now. So that's the countdown timer running. And then upstream keys, you can do the same thing. So I can start using the DVE if I wanted to scale one of them, or you can use it as chroma or luma key for green screen stuff on top of it. And the one limit here, is that the DVEs, there are only 2 of them. So you can't DVE on all 4. DVE is the one that lets you scale it. So what happens if I do this? Yeah, so there's my little resized, right? And then if I go to upstream key 2 and try to do it again, where I'm going to be smaller, then that'll work, okay? But I'm going to run out of them. So if I try to do it with a 3rd one and DVE again, let's DVE the color bars and yeah, flying key. So if I do that, you see it's not going to let me turn it on because there's only two DVEs. But if I turn that one off, I can turn this one on again. So that's the limit, but I can still use upstream key 3 if I switch it over to like a chroma key. So it just means that I can't, oops, apparently I can't. What am I doing? Oh, because the flying key is on. If I turn that off, it works. So the flying key is the one that uses the DVE scalar thing. So I can only have 2 of those, but I can green screen out that green color bar in the middle, right? And do that for the 4th one as well. Does the pattern? No, the pattern uses DVE as well. So there's only one thing that can like shrink, or 2 things that can shrink the video, if that makes sense. But you can do chroma and luma on all 4 upstream keys, as well as your 2 downstream, and then SuperSource is your background. So again, think of it as layers where, nope, let me get rid of the upstream key. Think of it as layers. You've got a background layer, which will be any of your 8 or your SuperSource or your media player. Any of those sources is your background. You can do upstream keys on top of those, and then any of your upstream keys can be either 2 of them can be resized, or all 4 of them can be green screened or luma keyed to be transparent. And on top of that, you got your 2 downstream keys. So those are the very, very top layer. And that gives you quite a lot of possibilities for this. In fact, I have been not nearly as reliant on macros because of how many keyers there are. Whereas I used to rely on macros because I wanted to go from like the countdown timer at the beginning, which is overlaid on top with the downstream key. And then I want to switch to showing the chat after, right? Where I don't need the countdown timer anymore. And with only 1 downstream key, I have to reassign the input of that keyer. Now I have 1 downstream key as the timer, 1 downstream key is the chat, and I can just leave them there and then turn them into individually on and off, which is just a lot easier. So yeah. Okay, let me see where what's going on in the chat? Yeah, replay skips. Interesting. YouTube is just having a bad day. I noticed your 3D printer going in the background. What are you printing? And also can hear a bit. Yeah, sorry, it's not totally silent. I can show you what it's doing. This is a sneak peek, and this is a prototype warning. So don't hold me to this. But this is on. Yeah, there we go. So it's busy working on these little brackets, which are. This is my test of it to see if this is going to work and make sense. But I'm hoping that the Extreme stand can actually clamp down and hold the Extreme in place. So let's talk about the stand, because I've got some updates there. First of all, yeah, okay. So the original ATEM Mini stands are shipping now. They are out there, and there's a bunch of them that should have been delivered by now, or at least are currently on their way, both from the EU store and the Australia store and DVE store. So if you haven't heard anything about them yet, it'll probably be coming soon. We are printing these as we go. This is the good and bad part about 3D printer manufacturing, where I don't have to front thousands of dollars to order mass-produced plastic parts. So the benefit is that I don't have to front all that money and then hopefully make it back and potentially waste a lot of product. Instead, we can just make them 10 at a time as the orders come in. The downside is that it means we can't ship all of the orders at the same time. So that is the good and bad. I would not be able to have launched this product without the fact that it's 3D printed, so keep that in mind. And yeah, the strange sounds in the background are the 3D printer. Sorry. I should probably just stop running this while I'm doing a stream, but I want to see if that part works. So the original stands are on their way, yeah, and at least they're not stuck in a container in the Suez Canal, which would have been very possibly where they would be right now if I was having them mass produced. The original stand is so that's on its way out there. That's great. The EU folks did a nice job packaging it up. Really impressed with that. And I would love to see your unboxing photos, because I haven't actually got the actual box. So I would love to see your photos. Tag me on Instagram, AaronPK _TV on Instagram, AaronPK on Twitter. Long story, not going into that right now. And so the Extreme. Been working on a redesign for the Extreme, and it is not as easy as just making things bigger. Oh, hey, the printer just stopped. These are the little brackets that are now done. So now I get to see if they fit, and hopefully the angles are right. So the Extreme, yeah, it turns out that you can't just like go into Photoshop and just scale everything up and have it work. It does not work that way. So I have measured the Extreme stand itself. I have, or the Extreme itself, I've put that into the modeling software. working on prototypes. I'm doing things a little bit differently with it as well, just because there's a couple of pretty big differences. So the biggest challenge is that the Extreme is very large. It is not really a mini anymore. They should not call it a mini. It is large. And it is so long that you can't print that in one go. Like, there's very few 3D printers, especially that are just, you know, consumer printers that can print something that large. It's like 380 something millimeters. 372, I think it is. Anyway, so I have to print it in 2 parts and then join the parts together in the middle. So actually, I should go over to the other table because I want to show you this. So let me do this. I'm going to go over to, am I on the right? Okay. We're going to go over here. And you should hear me still. Yeah, you can still hear me. And this way I can actually show you what's going on with the stand. This, I will also, again, caveat, this is a prototype. So this is not by any means the final design. This angle. So the top bar is going to come in 2 pieces. And what that means is that this small rig part is holding it together. And I've got you can see there's a little seam there. This is, again, not totally final, but this is this draft. This seam is going to stay in the model because this is sort of supporting some of the weight. And if you want it to be stronger, you can actually glue that together there on that seam, which will make it stronger. But then this bracket is actually doing a lot of work of holding these 2 pieces together. And surprisingly, it's actually very strong. I was worried I was gonna have to put a support here, but I can push down pretty hard on that and it is not bending, which I'm very glad about. So actually, it's going to be even less bendy because I made the whole thing thicker too in the meantime. Again, this is second draft. But then the bottom bars. So the bottom bars, their job is to keep it from spreading, right? Because otherwise the bottom legs just pop out. So the bottom bars are now super long also, and I can't print something this long, so I have to print it in 2 parts. And the 2 parts look like this, where I can, I've actually printed into it these little pegs and a little hole in this end, and you snap them together. And sure, that's not going to, you wouldn't do that for the top bar. It wouldn't support any weight. But because of this way, and because all it's doing is keeping it from pulling this direction, it actually is totally fine, and it holds together nicely. So those go there, and now it looks almost just like the original ATEM Mini stand, even though it's significantly larger. I don't have the screws in there, so it's falling all apart everywhere. And then, so yeah, that's more or less the Extreme version. Oh, the other difference is you might notice that inside, where's the light? Inside here, I got rid of the vertical bar on that side because it wasn't really necessary. It's definitely strong enough without it. And that was making it hard to get your fingers in here to get the screws in. So that's easier. And then on the side, there's this is open, so you can get your finger in there to hold that nut in place. So that should be a little bit easier to manage now. The screw holes are same 2 cheese plates they support. But it's in the tall, long, this bar that goes on the side is mounts differently now. So instead of mounting on the ends, it mounts in the middle. So I'll explain all that in the assembly video, but same 2 cheese bars for the side. The one thing that I have heard some feedback on, which I also am trying to solve for the original stand, is tipping backwards. I do want to show you though that, well, so in the original mini stand, it's very possible to rig it up in a way that does not tip over, but it depends on what monitor you have on it. So for example, this monitor, this is actually the one that's streaming this right now. So this monitor is, or not streaming, I'm just feeding multicams back into the main ATEM. This is the Blackmagic Video Assist 7-inch, which is pretty heavy. And this is too big for the stand and it will tip over. Again, it depends on the angle this is at. So if you tip the monitor towards you, it can help it from tipping over also. But as soon as you tip it back, it wants the whole thing to fall over. So you can see I've got these little extra flaps on the back. And what I've done with this one is that is a separate piece by itself that just goes on the bottom. So it screws into the same holes that are holding the bottom bars. And it's just this piece with a little stopper there for it. And that way you can add it on if you need it. I still have to work out the details of actually selling that piece printed, like so that you can buy it manufactured. But at the very least, it'll be available to print if you have printed your own and if you need it. I also don't think everybody needs that because there are plenty of cases where you aren't putting so much weight on the top that it's going to tip over. And because it adds depth, it means you can't put this up against like as close to a wall or something. So it's optional. Hopefully I'll work out a deal where you can buy it if you want to as an add-on. But if you did print your own, I'm just going to put that file up available for you to download because that's fine. So yeah, that's a little update on the stand. And let me go back to the desk so I can see the chat. Okay, cool. So let me see. I was totally ignoring the chat. Sorry about that. Stand looks pretty sturdy. Yes, it is. It is very strong now. Oh, so yeah, and then the material that I use in my printer, the small printer, is PLA, which is, you know, fine for 3D printed stuff, but it definitely looks like 3D printed stuff. Like you can see the layer lines on it and it clearly looks 3D printed. The material they're using at the EU is a lot nicer and a lot more expensive. And it looks a lot more like a real product. So that is super cool. And also because of that, there are actually some different design considerations that go into the model for that manufacturing process. And what that means is that there's going to be actually slight differences in the STL file if you buy the STL file and print it yourself, because I know you're going to be printing it in probably PLA or PETG, not using the fancier material that they use. So there's going to be a couple of minor differences, but it still is very much the same stand. I think the side pieces are going to be actually the same between the two, but like the top bar is going to assemble differently because, again, that's a bit of a trick of getting that to join two pieces together and then also hold the weight of a monitor in the middle. Anybody else still hunting for secret codes? I know, that was fun, right? I need to just have an excuse to always hide secret codes in the stream now that even though a giveaway is not happening. Okay. Yeah, printer is done, fan is gone, so hopefully that is a lot quieter now. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of chatter back and forth. That's great. Let me know if you have a question. Oh, awesome. Mother Bee says, I'm waiting for my stand to purchase from the AU distributor. Excellent. Thanks. Yeah. And hopefully, yeah, you should be getting it soon. They're just cranking these out as fast as they can. I don't really have an estimate because I'm not that involved in the actual manufacturing process. But yeah, it'll get there. It will get there. Why the ZV1 dummy battery instead of plugging in USB? I have done both. I have tried the USB before, and I have had bad experiences with that on that camera. The problem is that it will try to charge the battery, but if the battery drains, it thinks the battery is dead, and then it shuts off anyway, even though it's plugged in. So I've had it just randomly die on USB power because it gets confused about what's going on. I have never had that thing shut off when it's been plugged into the dummy battery. And also it was also overheating when it's charging the battery. So I've had overheating problems with it too. Dummy battery is just a lot nicer. Mike says, are all the extremes noisy? Mine is. I like the device, but turn it off when not streaming as it's annoying. No, it makes no sound. Mine is the same volume as the ATEM Mini Pro. I cannot hear it, basically. So if it is making noise, I would say that is probably bad, and talk to Blackmagic. I literally can't hear mine at all, and it's sitting right here, right next to me. It'll do a big fan blast at the beginning when it starts up, just like all of them, because it's like when it's booting up, but then it should be completely silent. Andre charges, it says, I charge mine to 100% and then keep it on USB power during a show. Works perfectly. I'm glad that's working for you. That's exactly what I've been doing, and it was not working. It could be that the batteries that I'm using are bad. Like maybe my batteries are old or whatever. But it was just not working. Oh yeah, and how do you close the battery door with the dummy battery? You can't. That is they got so many things right with that camera and then messed that up. And like all it takes is a little notch in the case to let the cord come out, which a lot of other cameras have, and it was just so yeah, I have it on a cage, and then the cage leaves enough room to have the battery door open and the tripod screw in there. Cajoling Technologies, thanks for the super chat. Good to see you here again. Good question. Is the encoder the same in the new web presenter in ATEM Mini Pro? Trying to decide if it's worth getting the presenter for a backup stream or a second ATEM. Good question. I don't know the technical answer to this in terms of whether it's actually the same. In my experience, it is effectively the same. I suspect it is the same chip internally. I have not actually confirmed that. But speaking of web presenter, I can actually show this to you because I have it hooked up here. So let me show you that really quick. Oh, and thank you, Mike, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely call Blackmagic because it should not be making noise. I have 2 of them now. Neither of them have made any noise. And the third one that I returned to DVE store also didn't make any noise. Okay. Yeah, let me take a look. Let me show you the web presenter. So the web presenter is, this one is on loan to me from Blackmagic themselves. So thanks to Blackmagic for sending that to me. I get to keep it for 3 months. So I'll have this to play around with for a few months, and I'll probably actually stream one of these shows from it so you can see it at some point. But in the meantime, we can do a quick little sneak peek of this. This I had my audio on audio follow video. You couldn't hear me anything. You couldn't hear anything as soon as I switched to that web presenter. Sorry. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, I need a producer. I need someone else looking at my setup while I'm talking. So anyway, what happened was I had my audio set to auto follow video so that when I went over to that table, it would switch automatically. Because again, I haven't set up macros in this new situation. So as soon as I switched over to the web presenter screen, then it cut the audio. So, but then I noticed when I was saying, "Oh, look," and it'll like show you the audio levels here, right? And I was like, "Wait, why is there no audio?" So, Tom, honestly, it makes me feel better when a pro like you makes a mistake every now and then. Yep. Yep. It happens. You know, we do these things live. Also, like I said before, I change up my setup like every week. Everything changes. So there's just always something that's different. So there's even no way to like get the hang of it because I'm just changing everything all the time. Okay. Let me go back. So, where was I? Okay. So, this is the web presenter interface. That's what I was trying to say. This is what you see when you are using the web presenter. And this is not streaming because I'm streaming from the ISO. I am just routing this back into the ATEM so you can see the multi-view. And but yeah, it's got a lot of the same features of the ATEM Mini Pro, but it's got like more information on the screen, right? So the cache over here is why I suspect this is the same encoder as the ATEM Mini Pro, because it does the same mechanism of caching and then pushing up when the connection comes back, things like that. So that's why I think it is the same as the ATEM Mini Pro encoder. But yeah, there's a little, oops, I keep pointing backwards. The little video preview thing is really cool. So it'll show you the last, looks like 6 seconds of video, which is cool. Very cool to see that. Also audio. So it'll show you the last 6 seconds of audio levels, which is even more helpful than just the immediate meter. It shows you over here the live stream information. It'll show you the first part of the streaming key, not the whole thing. Otherwise, well, that's actually just going to my streaming bridge, I think. It shows you the destination it's streaming to, the quality, the frame rate, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what audio bits means. I have no idea what the L's and X's mean, but that's cool. But yeah, it's also showing me all the audio stats as well. So yeah, multiple errands, pointing fingers. It's weird. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, it's cool. So far I've used this for a couple of interesting little workflows where I don't know if I can even explain this. Let me see if I can make this make sense in a diagram. So one of the things I've been trying to do is when I do workshops over Zoom, I want to be able to record locally because Zoom recordings are complete crap. So I want to be able to record my own show to be able to edit that and post that later. I also don't want to have to do any work in editing. So what I actually want is a SuperSource recording. Where is my ATEM app disappeared. ATEM software controllers crashed. Cool. So my box 2 is going to get the web presenter. So I'm going to go, no, that's weird. Whatever, no, it's fine. So you can imagine that if I am showing you, let me switch it to my computer. If I'm showing you slides, right? Like I'm talking about something on my computer, showing a slide deck, doing programming, whatever. I want this to be recorded, which is an approximation of what you get in when you're watching me on Zoom. And on Zoom, because Zoom compresses the video so much, I can't use this layout as my camera in Zoom. I have to have a camera that's just me for Zoom, and then do actual screen sharing into Zoom for the so people can see my screen. And you can't do that with just one device. It's so close, but you can't quite just do it with one device. You need another capture card to get your video in separately from what's being recorded in the ATEM. But with the ISO, I can leave it on this the whole time, recording the screen, recording that. I can even record all the ISOs with it, as long as I can feed my camera out to the computer, which now that there are 2 HDMIs, you can do. So one HDMI is going to multi-view, one HDMI is going back into the computer through another capture card, and then I can get the full experience of capturing the Zoom meeting. And that is, I'm very excited to be able to do that. So what I was doing was I was using the web presenter as a capture card in that case, because it's also a capture card, a USB capture card. So I was feeding my camera into the web presenter, and then my computer sees just the video that's inside the web presenter. It sees that as a webcam for Zoom. Meanwhile, my ISO is recording the actual mix that I'm going to publish later as a recording. Okay. Let me see if there's any chats. With your high-speed Ethernet, would you be able to stream to 2 locations were you to feed the Extreme into the Pro, each streaming device to different locations? Absolutely. I have definitely enough bandwidth here to stream to multiple places. I actually just set up my server in the closet as a restream just the other day to be able to push from my ISO to that server, where that server then pushes out to YouTube, Twitch, and other places. Totally enough bandwidth for that. With a web presenter, I could do that now too. I could have the ISO streaming to YouTube and the web presenter streaming to Twitch, which would be the other way to do that. Am I using the Lumix G7 for this stream? Is it worth it to buy 2 to 3 GH5, or is it fine to have 2 to 3 G7s? Yeah, this is the G7. I like this camera because it's so cheap. It does have an expensive lens on it, which helps, but that is the one limit of this camera is that it can't record to the SD card while outputting HDMI. So if it's only for live streaming, like what I use it for, it's great because I never have an SD card in there. I don't care about recording to it, but that's the limit. So it's just so much more affordable than the GH5 series. Although I guess the GH5s are coming down now, but still it's the GH5s are almost twice as much. So, and that's just the body only. So I would say the Lumix G7s are good for, if you want 3 of them, because buying 3 GH5s is expensive. If you also wish to record the interaction from the audience and their audio from Zoom, then it becomes another challenge. Yes, no. For what I'm doing essentially broadcast. This is when I'm doing a Zoom webinar, and it's basically just me, or at least if there's other people who are like kicking things off at the beginning, I don't need that in the recording. I'm just trying to record my content. Doing a Zoom wedding at the end of April, considering bringing my M1 Mac Mini for the production. Any experience with portable monitors? Yes. There's a bunch of good, super thin, kind of like laptop-sized HDMI monitors. I think I have a link to one on my kit.co page. Let me just drop that in. I don't remember the kit it's in, but there's a lot of good little combos there. Anyway, there are those things usually work great. They're HDMI. They'll work fine with M1 Mac Mini. If you only need it for the Mac, I think some of the USB monitors work, although I haven't actually tried them on my M1. I've only tried them on my other laptops. But if you want them for the video side, then you might want to stick to like the Feelworld style, like 7-inch field monitors rather than like a laptop monitor. Could you do that recording to the Hyperdeck Studio Mini? Yes. So the trick is you need, in order to do the Zoom thing I'm talking about, the problem is that the program out on the ATEM is the only thing that goes over USB. And and the only thing that's recorded in except the actual ISOs. So if I want to send something out over USB that's not the same thing as being recorded, I have to separate one of those two activities. So I can either separate what's going to my computer, or I can separate what's being recorded. So I could use one HDMI from the Extreme into a separate recording device, leaving the program free for the webcam, or other way around. You're not using NDI and virtual input. Is there a reason for it? I don't believe in NDI. I have some problems with it, and they are. I think I've talked about this before. At some point, I should just do a real video rant about it. But I also don't want to invest in enough computers to make that work, because I don't like buying computers. So I would rather have it all in hardware. Is there a way to switch cameras based on the camera mic sound to make a streaming without an operator? Is there a way to use the SDK to do that? You can use the SDK to do it. The SDK does provide you the audio levels of the ATEM's output. I have not seen anybody actually do it yet. I keep asking people who are building these things to see if that's possible, like to go and do it. And I am looking forward to somebody actually trying it. Speaking of which, the MixEffect app is I'm going to talk to them about it too. So the MixEffect app is, I've got it on my little iPod here, and this is the new app in beta. I'm going to do a proper walkthrough of this app at some point. I know John Barker just did on his channel, so if you're curious, he did a pretty good walkthrough. But it's basically like an iOS version of the software interface for the ATEM. So like it's got all the buttons of changing what's on the program. It's got all your upstream, downstream keyer controls. You can even run macros on it. You can even start and stop streaming from it. And it also, you can load it onto an iPad if you want a bigger screen as well. But this is what I was using to switch over to the table and back. Can you control the companion app or the ATEM software remotely from a location? Absolutely. The trick is there's nothing special about companion or the ATEM software to get it to work remotely, other than you need to figure out the networking side of it. And VPNs are probably the easiest way to do it, but it is a bit of setup to get the VPNs working right in order to be able to do that. It is on my list to make a video about that, but it is quite a lot of steps to set all that up, and I want to make sure that it's easy to follow those that tutorial. Oh, this is a good question. Can I delete all the macros and start over? Will that affect other settings? I have not found a way to bulk delete macros. So every time I've tried to do this, I literally have to go in one by one into the macros, click it, click delete, click delete. It doesn't even work with a keyboard shortcut. I can't even tab over and speed up. I have to actually click with my mouse, which is incredibly frustrating. And you can't just delete them out of the XML, because they if it's not defined in the XML, it won't overwrite that slot. The best you can do, sort of in bulk, is to create empty macros in the XML and then load those in. They'll all look like there's something there, but they won't be any actions. But it won't affect any other settings. Like you can just delete macros. That's all that does, is just delete the macro. Oh, hey, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Looks like my key is off again. Let me fix that. My downstream key clip needs to go like that. It's a little better. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the super chat. Can the ISO recordings be a higher frame rate, say 60 FPS, and the stream recordings be 30 to make higher res videos after the live stream? No, you can't change the frame rate. You can change the bit rate it records at. So actually, you can't even change it. The ISO records at 70 megabits a second, and you can't change that. That's always what the ISOs record. You can change what your program records at to be like your 7 megabit that you're streaming to YouTube at. And you can't change the frame rate, though. The frame rate is like built, it's like the whole ATEM works in one frame rate, and then you can choose which frame rate that is, but you can't have different parts of the ATEM working at different frame rates. But I would say if you don't usually want the end product to have a different frame rate when you're streaming and when you're playing it back anyway. Like, there's almost no reason to stream or even publish videos at 60 frames a second unless you are publishing videos where that level of motion detail actually matters, which is probably going to be playing back gameplay. But for most video content, you don't need 60 frames a second. And if you do need 60 frames a second, you should also stream at 60 frames a second so that the viewers live can see the same thing. So hopefully that helps. And thank you for the super chat. Have you made a video how to show how to use the ATEM Mini upstream and downstream keys? I have not made a video. I've done a bunch of demos during these live shows, and I do need to actually do a real video at some point. You can record 60 and output to 30. Yeah, so if you're using two different devices, one for recording, one for streaming, then you can have your different frame rates in each device. And then as long as you're dealing with the scaling. But again, like, I don't think you should. So I think you should, if you are going to be producing a 60 frames per second product at the end, you should also stream it at that. Otherwise, they're going to be seeing the motion wrong live. Steve, thank you for the super chat. People like me, non-experts, really need helpful experts like you. I appreciate it. Thank you. As a follow-up, the regular Extreme program at recording via USB is 70 regardless of stream settings, correct? I don't know if I've ever actually heard what the data rate over USB is, now that you mention it. But you can't, as far as I know, you can't change that. So you can change the streaming encoder bitrate to 70 or down to like 2, but there's no options for changing the USB bitrate. Since the direct Zoom recording is not great, how do you record a Zoom meeting? So just to clarify, what I'm talking about is recording my presentations that I deliver over Zoom, which is not the same problem as recording an actual Zoom meeting. So the problem that I'm usually trying to deal with is I'm producing content, I'm delivering content live. I'm usually sitting right here also with the same setup. I don't usually have as much transitions and stuff, but I do want to show stuff on my computer screen and have me talking next to it, and then have people be able to download or watch a replay of that later. And I can't push the whole content through Zoom like this, because Zoom would compress that too much and people can't read the slides or the small code. So that's why I'm trying to record separately in the ATEM compared to what camera I'm sending to Zoom. Actually recording a Zoom meeting is a totally different problem with lots of interesting solutions. And I'm actually going to be trying, that's actually why I got the Video Assist 7-inch, the new one. I got that because I needed to be able to record a Zoom meeting and then play it back on YouTube while also recording another Zoom meeting at the same time. And I don't have enough recorders and players here. And I tried, but unfortunately, the Hyperdeck cannot play back files that the ATEM records. If that makes sense. Oh, wait, no, I didn't try that one because it was an SD card. I tried the MixEffect, the one that's playing my loop, this. So I tried recording from the ATEM onto a USB drive, putting that into the MixEffect. It worked, but the audio didn't work. I was able to transcode it to get it to play back. Then it worked fine, but the audio didn't work. So I was like, I'm just going to get a Hyperdeck or the Video Assist because I know that's going to work. I put that card into the Hyperdeck and it works. So I'm recording a Zoom meeting on that. I'll like pin someone's video, record the screen with their slides and all that, and then be able to broadcast it out to YouTube while overlaying other things onto it and mixing it with other live video. Thanks to your Raspberry Pi tutorial, I repurposed one to be an RTMP receiver to feed the ATEM using apps like the Teradek AirMix Solo on iPhone. You got a wireless camera. Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. That is a great use of it. Are you able to show the front screen on the web presenter? Yes. Yes, I can. Let me switch my MixEffect to... oh, yeah. Actually, why don't I do this live? Oh, thank you for the super chat, Michael. Let me mirror my iPod over. So I imported my Mini ISO settings to my Mini Extreme ISO. Mini ISO Extreme. And although it worked for me prior, it seemed to work fine. It saved a lot of time. Anything to look out for? No, that should totally work. That's how I did it too. So I just picked up all the settings I've had in my ISO that I've used for this show and other shows, which means all my macros are saved in there and all the graphics are already in there. Totally works. It totally just and carries over just fine. So yeah, super great. It'll give you a big scary warning, like some things may not be working right, but like it's fine. And thank you for the super chat. So let me show you I have to rebuild my SuperSource to show you the iPod. The iPod with MixEffect, which we'll take a little look at this. Sorry, this SuperSource is not great, but it'll work. So I'm going to go add a new ATEM. Maybe I should just... No, they don't have a built-in. Okay. New ATEM. We'll call it the ATEM Mini ISO. And then what's my IP? 10, 11, 200. Is it 9? I should find this on my ATEM setup. ISO. Don't update the software right now. It is 9. Add that. So with this connected, I can show you how this works. You got all the little things here, and I'm going to go to the switcher tab, and now I can just change cameras. And because this is plugged into my ISO, I was going to try to grab my other camera so that I can show you the front of the web presenter. And do we have it? We do. Okay. This is not the best view. This is what it looks like. So basically, it's got a very minimal version of what was in the multi-view or the output. So it's got streaming status. It's got the data rate as well. What is the counter? What is the counter doing? I guess that would be counting how long it's been streaming. And then that one over there is the whether it's plugged into Ethernet or a phone. So mine is plugged into Ethernet right now, not my tethering. Oh, and Stuart, thank you for the super chat. I missed that. Thanks. I appreciate it. I need to get my confetti back so that it grabs my attention. Yeah, the Extreme not deleting the media player files is so nice. If you have any of the ATEM Minis except for the very, very first one, make sure you update the firmware because they all retain the media players now, the media player files. I got a PreSonus Revelator USB mic built-in loopback, works with Zoom, Skype, either presenter or audience, or both for sound. That's cool. Andre says, one way of recording the entire meeting is not a problem. Plug the computer into the ISO. You can even keep the ISO recording while not broadcasting the output. Yeah. No, it's not like impossible to record a Zoom meeting. That's just not something that I haven't done much of that except for what I'll be doing in 2 weeks. Thanks for sharing. It seems you and Curtis Judd will be taking up a couple hours of my afternoon, and I love it. Oh, he's probably starting now. I always run into his start time. I'm sorry, Curtis. Are you using Hollyland wireless HDMI for live streaming? How do you rate these systems? Is it reliable for live conference broadcasts? I've been very impressed with the Hollyland stuff. I actually have. It has been working great. I'm actually not using one right now, but sometimes I have my little ZV-1 on the Hollyland transmitter so I can walk around the room with it. And it's been great. I obviously haven't filmed any conferences anytime recently. I think actually the last one I did was like 2018. But one of the things that was the most frustrating about that was having to do really, really long cable runs, like 150 feet to get to the back of a room somewhere. And I am looking forward to bringing Hollyland transmitters next time so that I don't have to run that many cables. Are the button labels on this ATEM Control app soft? Is this a viable replacement for Companion minus the tactile feel of the Stream Deck buttons? I mean, yeah, it's all just, buttons on the screen. I think this is a very good replacement for the software control app on a computer because it means you can access the full capabilities of the ATEM from your hand and like walk around a venue, change stuff. I do think there's still a place for Companion because Companion, one, can control more than one device. You can have it controlling 2 ATEMs or an ATEM plus a Hyperdeck or an ATEM plus other different kinds of devices like your lighting systems. Also with Companion, you can, and the Stream Deck, or even just Companion on a phone, you can rearrange how you want the buttons to work. So like the top row of buttons is always camera inputs, right? The next one's always preview. And on a Stream Deck, I can be like, the top button is the pre-roll button. Then I have my show start button. Then I have show end button. And you can put them in order of when you might actually hit them during a production. Art Audio says, just received my Extreme ISO in Canada this weekend. Started 24-hour burn-in. Small issue with HDMI 1 output frame rate. Anyone else experiencing issues with HDMI outs? Interesting. I haven't noticed any problems yet with mine. Weirdly, I did have a problem with the input on HDMI 2 because HDMI 1 and 2 are the special inputs now. Like on the original, it's just HDMI 1 is special. Now it's on the Extreme, it's 1 and 2 can be passed through to outputs 1 and 2. And because of that, they use different chips. And for some reason, one of the devices I plugged into input 2, the colors are wrong. And like black is green. And if you plug it into any of the other inputs, it's fine. So I didn't have enough. That was literally last night I discovered that, and I haven't dug into troubleshooting it or figuring out if it's whose fault that is on which end. But yeah. Oh yeah, have you used the FTP server on the Extreme? Looks like it could be useful for getting ISO recordings, but I'd be worried about the network bandwidth. So they did put a gigabit network card into the Extreme, so it shouldn't be a problem anymore. I haven't actually tested it. I meant to test it yesterday and totally forgot because I was working on the stand design instead. But yeah, it should be fine now. Is that app Android? I zoned out designing quadrupod for monitor. Nice. No, that is an iOS app. So it works on. This is an iPod Touch. It works on my iPhone. It works on iPad Pro as well. I don't think Aaron has heard of Android. I extremely dislike Android for many reasons. And happy to go into that at any point if you want. Do you see any issues or have any suggestions for using 3 ZV-1s as multi-cameras in a small studio about the size of yours? Yeah, the ZV-1s with the dummy battery have been solid. That's what I've got for this little camera now. That's the ZV-1. I think it'd be fine. The autofocus on them is fantastic. Definitely better than the Lumix cameras. And I'm trying to think of what are the downsides. I don't know. With the dummy battery, it's been fine. What's the name of the app he just showed? Oh, sorry, that's called MixEffect. It's still in beta. Did I get my Extreme ISO from DVE Store? Mine has been on order since day 2. Yes, I did. So they have been. Oh, and no updates on your Extreme ISO. So I did actually get my Extreme ISO that I bought myself from DVE Store. and that came last week. And I also got the one from Blackmagic on loan from Blackmagic, but the one I actually bought finally came in. I ordered it before the announcement was done. As soon as they announced the price during Blackmagic's live stream, I emailed my Wrapup DVE store and I was like, hey, I want to put me down for one. Actually, I actually emailed them before the stream started and I was like, I probably want to buy whatever they're going to announce. And then as soon as the price was announced, I was like, put me in the queue. And yeah, that's how I got early up in the queue. They did just ship the first like days of orders, but they got a lot of orders on that day. And they only get so many in from where they buy them from. So if you're on day 2, you'll get it soon. But it just may not have been shipped because they just only have so many. There are some issues with some of the Extremes. Mine was faulty. Yeah, I've been seeing those pictures. The thing that I was worried about, which I saw some pictures of, is the buttons getting stuck, because the button surface is so much bigger and it's like different than the last one. So this one does not seem to have that problem. I haven't had to have it get stuck yet, but it does feel more fragile than the original ATEM Mini. But yeah, it sounds like some people are already contacting Blackmagic to get theirs replaced. Oh yeah, sorry, I was talking about Sony cameras. The ZV-1s, they are good. Right, the downside, the lens. So the lens, because it's built in, you don't get options. So if you want more telephoto or more wide or better in different properties of it or whatever, like you don't get any choices, which is why going with one of the other Sony cameras like the a6400, which is actually, I have that as my top-down camera on the table, or any of their other Alpha line, those are also great autofocus, and the colors will all match the ZV-1s. Also good options. And then you can use nicer lenses that are going to give you better depth of field and more light and that kind of stuff. The ZV-1 is, you can definitely see some artifacts in the edges, like the corners of the picture. I've been noticing that as I've been taking pictures with it. And you will get less of those kinds of things with a more expensive lens that you can add on to like a Sony Alpha camera or a Lumix camera, and you just can't replace the lens on the ZV-1. Someone did a YouTube teardown of the ATEM Mini Pro. Do you know if anyone's doing one of the Extreme? I hope someone does, but that's an expensive device to risk tearing apart. Blackmagic acknowledged issues with the Extreme quality control issues, even seen one with the select buttons upside down. Wow, that's okay. I didn't see that one. SuperSource and being able to move from a dual ATEM Mini Pro to a single device has been a significant quality improvement for me, and having additional keyers is nice. I agree. I think overall it's been a solid device having the Extreme now, and a lot easier to manage than multiple ATEM Mini Pros. The ISO disk record button does not work. You can press the button and nothing happens. So that usually means that the drive isn't formatted right, because it'll see the drive, but if it can't write to the file system, there's no feedback. I do wish their feedback on that was a little bit better. Like, it's annoying that it just doesn't do anything. But try formatting it. I believe it records to exFAT. So try formatting the drive first, and then try recording. Otherwise, some drives still have problems. But like the SanDisk and the Samsung T5, and now I've heard the T7 works. I don't have one myself, but I've heard that one works too. Okay, great. So once MixEffect is out and performs as promised, goodbye Strata Pro. I used the Strata apps a while. They're expensive, and it was the only option for iOS. But this one, I will say, MixEffect is much better designed than Strata Pro, and it feels a lot nicer to use. But I will do more reviews of that soon. So, yeah. And, okay. Good point. I don't use Windows, so I forget these things. Check the instructions on formatting the drive carefully. Okay. I'm late. What amazing announcement did Aaron make while I was spring cleaning my home studio? Well, I actually forgot to make the actual announcement, which is timing for the ATEM Mini Extreme stand. So I showed you the prototype. It's going to be almost exactly what you saw. There's a few changes compared to from that last draft. The plan is to release it on April 11th, which will be 2 weeks from today. That's when I'm going to do drop the product page, have it available for ordering at the various stores. It will then ship on the 19th. So the first batch will ship. Again, we're going to be taking orders on the 11th, and then because we're not, we first of all, there's just a limit in how many can be produced because they take a lot of time, and we're not mass producing them in China in a way where you can just crank out 2,000 in a weekend. So the first batch of them will be shipping on Monday from those orders that come in. This is going to be first come, first serve, like first in, first out orders. So if you know you want it, make sure you get your order in on the 11th during the live stream. So I'll be talking about it on the live stream. I'll have the final product to show you on the live stream, and you do want to make sure you get your order in because it's going to be first orders fulfilled in that order. And I have no idea how many we're going to sell, and we're going to make them as fast as we can. So that is the timing. They'll start shipping on the 19th, and then they'll just keep shipping until we catch up with the orders. The price, I don't know exactly yet. I cannot quote you a price yet. We are still, because it depends on a lot of things. So it depends on the main factor here is time. It turns out that 3D printing it's not instant. So like for me, it took, well, those little brackets that I just finished took an hour, but the like the sidebar takes like 7. And because it's so much bigger than the original ATEM Mini stand, it just takes a lot longer to print. So it's like almost 20 hours. I think I need to add up the final models, but I think it's close to 20 hours of print time for one of the stands, which is a lot of print time. And you can't just hit it, go and walk away because it requires multiple print beds. You have to do it in small batches. So it's a lot. We went through a couple of iterations on the design, thinking about using less 3D printed parts and some like metal rods to reduce the amount of things to print. Ultimately decided that didn't make sense because, again, it turns out there's a lot of constraints around like shipping. So it's easy to ship things that are certain sizes, and a bar that long actually is very expensive to ship. So we ended up going back to the original of two parts to make the top bar attached together. Anyway, we can talk more about that when it's announced, and I'll show you some of the early sketches of different iterations it went through, but pretty happy with it. We've been working on optimizing it, making sure it's going to be printable at scale and consistently from people making it. Right now, the plan is to have just the INEX 3D people print it. So that'll be the EU and Australia. And I'm working on US distribution of it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have specifically UK distribution of it. So you may have to order it from the EU, but at least it's not the other way around. And that's all the details I'm figuring out in the next 2 weeks. So don't hold me to that. And yeah, the price, don't know the price. I will say it will be a lot more expensive than the first one, just because it is a lot more complicated. There's a lot more parts. There's more screws, more print time, bigger packaging, all those things. So, Yep. You need a continuous belt 3D printer. I've seen some of those. They're very cool. But turns out just the length of it alone makes it difficult to ship, so it actually benefits us having it broken into 2 parts for shipping purposes. All sorts of fun logistics stuff I'm learning. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I was wondering about the print time. I will also again be posting the STL files so you can print your own, and I will make sure to include print time estimates on there as well. I hope you're making money on this stuff. It's a lot of work. It is so much work. I didn't really know how much work it was going to be. I have been keeping track of time I've been spending on it, so I'll report back on that. So far, I'm pretty sure I have not made money, even regardless of time, because of how many small rig brackets I've had to buy for prototyping. Because I've been buying the little cheese bars and screw kits and all those monitor mounts. Those things are like $40 each, and I have a couple of them now. I have different kinds, and I've spent a lot of money on smaller rig parts to make it, to be able to prototype it, to make a kit that works for you. So I think I may have finally made back that part, not to mention just the amount of time I've spent on the design and logistics of it. Don't forget about electricity costs. Yeah, I guess it's not nothing, but I'm not doing the manufacturing myself. I'm just doing these prototypes. The manufacturing is done by people who actually have multiple banks of printers that they can run continuously and have better sources for nicer filament and things like that. The printer that I use, I have the Prusa Mini, and it's sitting, you can see it back there on the shelf. It's a Prusa Mini, and that means the print bed is 7 inches square, which is another one of the considerations of the sizes of things I've been designing. I wanted it to still be printable on the Prusa Mini. So that is, it's one of the smaller printers, and if you have the bigger printers, you can do it more efficiently in like fewer batches of parts. But still, it's just a lot of print time. Graham, thank you. And Patrick says you need to buy me a coffee account. Super chats work, you know, and Graham has demonstrated how that works. So thank you, Graham, for the super chat. And the other way you can support this is buying the STL files. So if you go to the website for the stand, you can buy the STL files, even if you're not going to use them, and then you can also just type in whatever number you want. So you can you can support this effort there as well. And yeah, Roland has been busy answering questions in the chat. So thanks Roland for helping out doing that. Okay, with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Oh, Randy, thank you so much. Okay, one more question. Have you done a video on using 2 ATEMs from the same computer? Switching back and forth only the straightforward way. 2 ATEMs from the same computer. That's how I ran most of my live streams over last summer. Was 2 ATEMs connected not over USB but over the network. And once everything's on the network, it's a lot easier to manage. So we've got Companion which is able to send commands to both of them at the same time, and things like that. So the ATEM software control can only talk to one or the other, but that's another reason I'm excited about MixEffect, because now I can have an iPod dedicated to one of the ATEMs, and then use another iPod for the other one, or my computer for the main one. Okay, and with that, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching these live streams. Thanks for all the questions. And I'll be back next week. And we'll be back next week talking more about this stuff. I will happy to show the web presenter again. I, with any luck, will also have the Blackmagic 6K Pro camera hooked up to talk about that as well and show that side by side with my other cameras. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.